Hey everyone, this is aChAI Akaya, and we're looking at another 1v1 today. This is on Jungle Basin. It's going to be a Protoss versus Terran matchup, and yes, we are looking at aTnSocke. Socke playing as Protoss, the blue Protoss up in the top left here, and he is quite a good player, plays an MLG. He's one of the top players in the world, and especially in the US. He's always in the top 50 to 75, it seems, of the top 200 ladder. So very, very solid Protoss player. And then he's going to be facing off against Root QXC. QXC, part of the Root Gaming team, a new team that actually spawned out of it was basically just a practice team that was brought together from what I understand, it used to be a bunch of Warcraft 3 guys that are getting into StarCraft 2. And anyways, they are now trying to become an official gaming team, getting sponsors and all that kind of nonsense. But these guys are really good. QXC, also a very, very strong player. I've casted a few of his games before. So if you're definitely looking for some interesting Terran play, check him out. And there was actually, oh man, Day 9 beat me to it. I was about to cast a game between QXC and Poison, and unfortunately, because I work so darn much, I was not able to do it before Day 9 did a daily on it. And QXC actually did some really, really cool Reaper harassment. He basically went mass Reapers against a Protoss player, which is absolutely bonkers. So that was really interesting play to see. And like I said, I was planning on casting it, and then I watched Day 9's feed today. I can't even remember. I think it may have just been the Day 9 daily from 2 days ago or maybe 3 days ago. I can't remember. It was sometime late last week, I think, though, or early this week. And I saw that game and my heart sank. I was like, oh, Day 9, I can't copy off of you now. I can't do this game because you are so much better than me. And if I try to do analysis on this game, everybody will just mock me and scoff me because you are uber nerd and I am just a little nerdling. I'm a little under nerdling. But anyways, getting into the game here. As we can see, QXC playing pretty standard so far, putting down that supply depot and barracks inside his base, getting that orbital command right on 15. So very, very good timing by QXC. Of course, he's known for having very well timed out builds. A solid player. And back at Socke's base, we can see that he is going Gateway Cyber. So very standard play from both players. And it looks like we do have a supply depot going down along the outskirts of QXC's base. That very common strategy in just putting kind of buildings, at least the cheaper ones like supply depots, turrets, kind of along the outskirts of your base where you can actually spot for proxy pylons or drops coming in. That way you're not caught off guard by something like that. And the first Zealot is out, and QXC going to be microing this SCV against that Zealot. And a quick note, I don't know if you've ever heard Tasteless or Artosa say this in the GSL, but if this SCV is controlled perfectly, it should have no problem at all staying alive until the Stalker comes out, because once the Stalker comes out, it is indeed faster, although it looks like he went for Sentry instead of Stalker. But regardless, QXC is going to hightail it out of there with his SCV. He can keep it alive, and getting that early Sentry is actually pretty common as well. I've seen most Protoss players go for the Stalker first to get the Scout out of there, although it looks like he was able to get that Scout out of there without having to build the Stalker. But getting that Sentry so that you can wall off the front, very crucial, because early timing pushes with Marauders and Marines and SCVs can be very, very deadly, and using that force field to put down a block on this small ramp allows the Protoss players to stall for just enough time to allow them to get those couple more units out and defend that early push successfully. As we know, Marauders very strong against Stalkers, and as we can see here, it looks like he's going to go for 2 Marauder, 1 Marine, 1 SCV push here. And there's 1 Sentry, 1 Zealot, and 1 Stalker to defend this. Oh no, and the Stalker getting out of place, and it looks like Concussive Shell is finished, going to back up the ramp, not losing any health, just losing shields. So it looks like QXC is going to be forced to back off for the time being, although he is continuing to produce Marauders, so going to be rallying those down to the front of the base. Actually just going to be standing next to the Xel'Naga Watchtower here to keep a little bit of vision on the middle of the map. And actually, I'm sorry, not even standing by the Xel'Naga Watchtower. He's just going to check that out and run all the way back home. Meanwhile, Socke has put up a Nexus at his safe expansion. If you have not played a lot on Jungle Basin or have not played it at all, this map allows you to get a relatively early first base right in the back here. There is destructible rocks that you can take down, which allow you to get backdoor access into the expansion here. And, you know, that makes for a lot of interesting dynamic on the game. It gives you another door, but the two doors are very, very far apart from each other coming from the outside, because the door on the front here is right from the middle axis of the map. But if you want to go into the back door, you have to go all the way around the back here, up this ramp on the 3 o'clock expansion, down the back of that ramp, and then through here. So it's not very easy to move by ground from the back door to the front door unless you're actually inside the base, which, as you can see, ramp here, there's a ramp going down into the natural, and then it's right there for you. So easy to defend, not as easy to exploit as far as moving back and forth unless you're going by air. So definitely something to keep in mind. That is something that is very unique to this particular map, because a lot of the other maps that have the backdoor entrances like that, such as well, one that comes to mind immediately is Blistering Sands. The two entrances are actually not that far apart by ground. The entrance in the front is quite close to the entrance in the back, so it's actually quite easy to move back and forth and really keep the defending player on their toes trying to hold that off. And it looks like the Terran player QXE going to throw down his command center at his natural as well, but it is much, much further behind Socke's expansion. He now has a pretty good amount of probes here, not fully saturated quite yet, but very, very close to it, and he's got 3 probes in each one of his geysers already, and trying to get up here and do a little damage. It looks like one Marauder got up before he put down the force field. If he could have trapped just a few more units in that force field, then he might have been in a lot better shape. But as it stands, he only lost one of those Marauders, and QXE doing some very nice micro here, controlling that dropship and those Marauders, taking almost no damage and managing to save all of his Marauders. There is a factory floating up here, and it looks like he may just be using this for scouting purposes. Wants to check out the expansion here, see exactly how many probes are mining, so we can get an idea for how long this expansion has been up and running. But with the forces in the back trying to guard against that drop, it looks like he's going to move up in the front, managing to take a couple of pot shots and then backing off. Does not want to risk losing his whole army if there is indeed a force field that comes behind those Marauders on the ramp, because of course there is more units for the Protoss than there is for Terran at this point in time, so he would not be able to take on that full army if he was not able to run away and kite. Of course, the concussive shell allowing him to kite those Protoss units is what's really so strong, and there's a decent amount of Stalkers in this army, but those Stalkers really have a hard time dealing damage if those Marauders can kite, because not only do they get slowed, but the Marauders do bonus damage against the armored, and there's going to be a pretty good sized battle right in the middle here. The Marauder getting out of, the medevac getting out of position and goes down immediately, focusing down that Immortal, which is so important because the Immortal does a ton of damage against those Marauders, and it looks like the stim from the Marauders and Marines is going to manage to take down the rest of this Protoss army. So definitely QXE got the better of that exchange. That is what he needs in order to get himself in the game, because of course his expansion was so far behind Socke's expansion. He definitely needs to take advantage of every little small battle win that he can get there. And of course the factory from QXE continuing to spot the back of the base here, although he does not see exactly how many probes are mining here. I'm not sure what the point of this positioning of this building is if he's not going to scout how many miners are at that expansion, although perhaps he doesn't feel like he needs that information since he was able to get a couple Marauders in there and spot that the expansion was indeed up and running. But as we can see, he did not yet spot the Nexus, so I'm not sure if he even knows how many guys are actually mining at that base yet. And here comes the first Colossus here. Colossus so crucial for the Protoss in dealing with this very heavy bio threat, especially with the medevacs overhead. The splash damage of the Colossus just crucial in dealing all that extra damage. And of course those medevacs need to be very careful about getting too far ahead. With all these Stalkers out, they are going to be able to do a ton of damage to those medevacs if they get themselves out of position. As you can see, one going down there already, and it looks like QXE going to pick up a few Marauders and Marines, try to get over here and do some damage to the expansion, and the Colossus is going to come down. If he's not careful with that Colossus, he's going to lose it. The Marauders trying to do some damage here, managing to get that Colossus just barely away possibly, and he's trying to run it up there and stim. He does manage to get the one Colossus. There is a second one out at this point in time, and it looks like they are going to be able to force the rest of these Terran units out of here. All of them dead except for the one lone medevac managing to get out of there. There are a couple more units pushing in on the front, decide to take a step back and regroup because there are too many Protoss forces up in this base trying to defend. So he is going to play it safe, regroup, and to hold his position in the middle of the map. But there are a bunch of Protoss forces here moving out, going to try to take down this Terran position on the map, and it looks like QXC is going to have to retreat as reinforcements continue to stream up this map, but it looks like he is going to send them all the way back to his main. Looking back at his natural expansion, he has gotten a decent amount of SCVs, but he does not have any additional gas, and sticking with a very heavy bio-based army right now. He has 5 barracks up and running, one of them with a reactor and the rest of them with tech labs, so going very heavy Marauder Marine combo with medevacs over top. We have not seen any additional tech. There is cloak researching for ghosts, so possibly we're going to be seeing some EMP, which is very, very strong against a Protoss army, especially for these gateway units, which do not have more than 100 shields, which 100 shields is how much the EMP takes away from Protoss units. So even everything except for the Colossus here, which has 150 shields, are going to completely lose all of their shields, which includes the Immortals. Immortals have 100 shields exactly, so that extra damage that it resists, it basically allows you to only take 10 damage per hit, no matter how much damage the unit actually does on their attack, is pretty much negated with that EMP. But we do not currently see any Immortals out on the map right now. Meanwhile, another expansion going up and running for Socke. He's going to try to hold the middle of the map right now while he has Terran pinned in his base. QXC no longer able to have that presence on the front of the map, and Socke doing a very good job of keeping his army moving around. Although, I'm sorry, I missed apparently a small drop here, and they were able to take out a few of the probes here at the main. But QXC going to have to pick up and get out of there, and he is going to lose the dropship, which had a few more units in it. So unfortunately, FU medevac nerf. And if you are not familiar with the patching, what he's referring to there is they recently slowed down the acceleration of the medevac, which makes it much more difficult to get those medevacs away. And I'm guessing it's primarily because all of the Terran players are currently used to the medevacs being at 1 speed and 1 acceleration. And of course, with that change, it's difficult to adjust your play for a speed difference like that. You can of course adjust for a difference in damage attack, and I'm sorry, hold that thought. We're going to see another big battle here in the middle. 3 Colossus, and there are Vikings to deal damage to those Colossus, managing to take down one immediately. A second one goes down. There are a decent amount of more Immortals on the ground here, but those Vikings are just going to clean up the rest of these Colossus, it looks like, and QXC managing to take down that entire Protoss army. Very, very good play by QXC, managing to get enough Vikings to deal with the Colossus threat, but still maintaining a ground presence. He has to be careful, though, because there are a lot of wounded Marauders here. These Marauders are very, very low on HP, and they can go down quite quickly if they're not careful, especially with this Colossus coming out right now. Very tense moment right now as the Protoss tries to hold on to a second expansion. More reinforcements streaming up from his main base, and it looks like he is going to be able to take out this expansion. Unfortunately, Socke not able to actually hold this off, bringing out the probes, and when you bring the probes out, that is a bad sign because that means you are in super trouble. Although QXC not microing, and Marauders are actually quite bad against probes, although apparently when they have medevacs overhead, that makes them exponentially better. But yeah, I've seen groups of Marauders go down to probe surrounds like that before, and it is not pretty. But a few more Stalkers warping in, trying desperately to save this Nexus and Warp Gate, rather. But unfortunately not able to do so. He is going to have to retreat back to the front of his base. Going to try one more poke here to try to hold that off. But no, apparently not going to be able to. He is going to lose that Nexus. Meanwhile, QXC doing the baller thing and expanding behind that attack. So he is going to drop a ton of mules on this expansion and immediately start taking advantage of some extra resources coming in right now. If we look at the income tab, we can see that there are a significantly larger amount of harvesters after that attack. Of course, a lot of probes killed at that expansion. QXC able to take all of those down with Marines and Marauders, and it looks like there are some SCVs coming out right now going to repair the Vikings and medevacs that need to do the healing for this infantry-based army. And immediately Socke is going to put down another Nexus and moves his Stalker Colossus army out here. There is one Zealot in the fray as well, but I don't think this is nearly enough to deal with the Terran force that we see from QXC right now. He really needs to be careful. He's going to be out of this game very quickly. One Colossus going down immediately, and it looks like QXC is going to clean this up no problem, and there's the GG. Socke losing in this 1v1 to QXC. QXC showing once again how powerful of a Terran player he is, and that he really does deserve to be at the top of the StarCraft 2 game. Of course, I'm sorry, I don't mean to say that he is #1 in the US or Europe or anything like that, but of course, QXC is one of the more popular players. He's quite well known for his solid play and does very well in tournaments like MLG and stuff like that, of course. So anyways, thanks again for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.